was good as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh,
Okay, and we're on. Hi.
Hi.
So we came together to talk a little bit about creative. I don't know. That word is a little bit weird, I know, but it's the best word to describe creating things, I would say.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're here to talk about some stuff like that. And I think the first thing is, why are we doing this, or why are you doing this, or why is anyone doing this? And maybe we just start there.
That's the hardest question, I think.
artist, why do you do art?
Yeah. Actually, there's like I watched a documentary about why we do art, which was like hour and a half or something, or 2 hours. So yeah, I don't remember the name actually, but yeah.
No, I can start if
Yeah.
okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I don't know. For me at least, it's a deep passion and desire to create stuff. I feel great when I do it. I feel that it's kind of weird, but my life has a meaning, kinda, which is super weird. Okay, but
No, that
I
makes
just
sense.
I mean, it's true.
yeah, I just like having fun with technical stuff, and but wanting to do creative stuff. I always had this desire, but it became stronger and stronger when I found my medium, which is shadow coding, and now I'm enjoying creating stuff. Not each and every day, because sometimes it's super tiring, but but on a regular basis.
I guess it's for me, it's mostly like a thing that I just want to feel productive. I just want something that I can work on. And I'm also like super interested in computer stuff. So it's just natural that I fell into programming, and like I started teaching myself how to program. And then I started learning about like visual effects. And I just find it interesting to like code something, like explain the computer to do something specifically, and then you just press one button and it just does that. It just does what you told them.
Yeah.
Like I used to enjoy painting as well, or like drawing especially, but I'm not really that good at it. So it's for me, it's a lot easier to just tell the computer what to do and like let the computer do all of the hard things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to paint a lot before I started making demos. I used to do like speed paintings, like 30 minutes or 15 minutes and so. And now when I do programming, I kind of try to use that in some way, or use the same process. Like because when I speed paint, I make like random shapes and try to see things in the chaotic like landscape, and then kind of render it out.
Yeah, that sounds super cool, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see your paintings now.
Yeah.
I can send you a link afterwards, or I can send it in the chat.
Yeah, it's as in for me, I guess. I always liked to make stuff, if it makes sense. And from like the early days, I really liked computer games. So I'm the guy who actually did the reverse kind of path. As in, I came from game dev basically. I started doing games, and then I found out about demo scene. I was like blown away, and yeah, and I like doing visual stuff. And for me, there's a weird connection between you and the machine when the machine renders something in real time. It's like kind of magical, you know. There's this weird connection that I find fascinating, actually. So yeah.
I think it's a collaboration between you and your machine, because sometimes you just
exactly.
throw information to it and you're not really sure about what will come out.
Yeah, exactly. It's less a tool and more like as you said, a collaborator kind of, which is kind of weird. and awesome
Like
at the same time.
partner or something.
Yeah,
My girlfriend always says that when I program, I'm talking to the computer. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
to the computer again.
It's extra human because sometimes you tell it something and it just doesn't do it properly.
Yeah, because he doesn't understand, right?
Right.
Yeah, but on the other hand, the computer is just a tool. Something, well, not literally meant, it's just the tool. If you paint with a brush or you just tell the computer, do this, then this, then this, and a picture comes out, it's, I don't know if it's nearly the same. You could say, right?
I guess that's a matter of perspective, I guess, because like from the programming side is more as more of a dialect, let's say, right? And if it comes to like using tools like graphics or like modeling or something, it's more of a tool, I guess. But when you're code stuff, it, at least for me, it feels more like collaboration a little bit.
Yeah, I think sometimes, well, that's how I feel about creating images with code. Is that sometimes it's more of a collaborator because you don't understand everything that goes behind what you're doing, kinda, which is quite exciting, sorry. But sometimes you also mastered your tool, kinda, and then it's more like a tool, but you can switch. Oh, cute.
Totally.
Alle gezien al streams.
And
Welcome back. Welcome back, by the way.
Hello.
Hi.
I should have proper internet now. But,
Great.
so you can
Oni,
always switch.
why do you do stuff?
Yeah.
well, why I do stuff? Because it's fun. It's mainly because it's fun.
Right.
That's, I think, yeah. And why creative? I don't know. Over my years, I just found it very interesting to design worlds. That's always been my thing, and it's always what I try to do in my drawings as well. Not just about like putting down a very like nice rendered image, but it's more about like what type of worlds can you draw or create with like a few different variations than what we have here. And that's always what I like to do. If I can create something where, you know, people kind of have to stare at for a while and see what everything that's going on, all the details that are put somewhere to make it all make sense. That's something I really enjoy.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would say for me as well that I somehow discovered that you can do stuff that you don't know from the real world. So this is pretty awesome to just see new things, something like, yeah.
If I can add something to that part, is that also the first time I experimented with coding visual and stuff, I also liked the idea that it was for nothing, kinda like it doesn't serve a purpose. It was
Right.
just for fun, as Oni said. You really don't have no purposes to it in the beginning, at least for me. That's how I lived it. So it was kind of fun and relaxing to do something just like that.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't think you can go very far if you don't find the very core of being creative something you relax with. Like, sure, in a job sense, it will always get stressful at some point because it's work. It's not something you want to do yourself. It's always something that the client wants or whatever thing you're making. But if you're on your free time and you're drawing something, you should be actually, instead of feeling that it's a lot of work, you should be like, oh, it's relaxing. It's nice, you know, I'm having fun.
Yeah, that's right.
If you don't have that part, I don't think you'll. Unfortunately, like that's the first thing I would say you have to learn is just to have fun in doing it.
And I guess there's something relaxing about the pointlessness, let's say, right? Because every time somebody asks me about like doing some demo scene stuff, and they're like, "Okay, do you get money from it?" And I was like, "No." A job, whatever. And it's like, "Yeah, we just like hang out and like, drink alcohol and like do weird shit." And like, what's the point? Like, there's no point. That's the deal. And like,
I think we sit together and drink alcohol is one of the best summarizations of the demo scene.
You know,
Cheers.
it is what it is.
But yeah, it's really fun to just see where things go. Like you start with something and then it just transforms
Yeah.
into something
And
else.
you don't like you don't know what you're gonna end up with, right? So like for me, that's the most exciting thing about doing, for instance, a demo, is I start with an idea and then I just like see what happens and like find weird stuff and find different things, which is like, you know, kind of magical.
So when is the point you look out for inspiration? Is it before you start? Is it while you're in? Is it, or yeah, well, for me it depends. It's both, I think. Sometimes it's like you have this, you go, yeah, really pregnant with an idea and have the feeling that, oh, I should go into that. And then you start looking out what can be done with that, or otherwise it's just, okay, I have something, it has to be something with this, okay, let's look how you can do that, and then looking out for inspiration. What's it for you?
So for me, for example, with drawing, I like to thumbnail a lot. That's like my thing, to do a lot of small little drawings, either it be composition based or it could be character design, something that just something a start. It doesn't really matter what. And I often do them a lot, and I often with like revision entries, I always add them as well, like the steps these days, because I think those are like the most interesting parts, because that's where you start with one thing. And I always find that the first thing you draw, at least for me, is always something I've done like a million times before. So I have to do it more often, that I get to a point where I'm like, I don't really know what to draw. And then I just do some random scribbles, and that's often the one that I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Because it wasn't necessarily the thing, because that's something new. And that is then something I roll with. And for that shape or form, I will start to like put some rules down. Like, okay, maybe it's from a universe where everyone drinks oil. There's no more water, right? Something like that. And that's then the base of where I work from that point. And then from that point on, I started thinking, okay, but they should need I guess, some way to get the oil and refine them into beer oil or something like that. And that's kind of what for me like keeps that creativity or that creative stream rolling, and get inspired by that. And other than that, it's just also the things I do or see, right? So if you either play a video game or watch a movie, or sometimes even buildings, when I walk around, everything could be, in my opinion, something that you're like, oh, we'd be pretty cool if it's in this setting because of these reasons. And then just take that and design, just go nuts with that, see what you end up with. That's kind of what it for me, at least.
Yeah, for me, I usually get inspiration from a couple of years back. Like I remember something like that I saw 3 years ago or something. Like for example, when I made my demo called Quartz, I remembered a print that was made by Push Wagner, which is a Norwegian artist, where he made like small people who kind of walked upwards in a spiral. And I thought that was really cool, and I wanted to try to replicate that in code. And then that happened in a way.
That's really cool.
For me, it's pretty much the complete opposite. Like, I don't usually try to like work towards something specifically. I don't go out and like search for something that I want to do and try to implement that as much as possible. For me, it's more thinking about what happens if I change this, what happens if I change that, or just playing around with different things and seeing whatever comes out. So it's a lot of just experimenting around, not really going to a specific direction, just like seeing what works, what doesn't. Like I get home like a lot and just have some idea in my head and just sit down and like try it out in Shader Toy or something like that. And like 90% of the time it just doesn't work out, or like doesn't work as I hoped. And then like the other 10% of the time I have like some effect that I post, at least on Twitter or something like that. And some of the time I'm like, I could actually turn this into an intro, and then I do. And people like it for some reason.
It's super fun because I'm kind of in between. Sometimes I'm more on the only side, like I watch a movie, or it's not usually because I search for inspiration, but it's just like, wow, that's super great. Wow, it gives me that idea or that idea. And sometimes I'm more on the slurpy side, which is just having mathematical ideas in a way that we work with, at least when I do shadow coding and when we do demos with code, we work a bit with mathematics or with logic, and it's kind of fun to just ask yourself and try what does it do if I change this number, or if I put this function instead of this variable, etc. And yeah, I often mix between those two. Sometimes I search for something, sometimes I let the word inspires me, and sometimes I just have mathematical ideas. So it's kind of a mashed potato inspiration.
That's cool as well. Yeah, for us, actually, it's like more of a, let's say, corporate rigid stuff process. For some reason, I don't know why, but it usually looks like this. That we did like, me and Miku did like a few demos together with like doing the code and direction. And first we just like meet up and we get like an idea or an image or a clip or music that for some reason like we really like it or something, right? So like, oh, it will be really cool to have a demo like in that style or something. I really like that kind of music. Let's try to do something. So that's the first stage. The second stage is we usually create a mood board on like Pinterest or something, when we just like pour in images that kind of resemble the initial idea that we had. And the third stage is we start to prototype the scenes, and then that's the part when everything falls apart a little bit. So we find out that we can't do this and this effect from the mood board or something, and we try to experiment and try to prototype the scenes and try to come up with something. At the same time, at some point, we like create some music references again to match the initial idea, and we talk with either Leshnik or Exit in case of few demos, and we just collaborate about the music. When we get the music, we start pouring the prototypes and like just have fun with it and try to finish on time, basically. So yeah, that's the essential process of doing a demo by us, I guess.
Cool.
So you do the brainstorming with post-its and stuff, or
A little bit, like yeah, kind of.
Agile development.
Yeah, as I said, like at some point it kind of falls apart because like we we started doing the scenes and the scene doesn't look good in our tool or renderer or something. So we need to like be creative and try to find the same scene with the same like mood or emotion, but kind of from a different angle, let's say.
Do you guys ever get like since you're all pretty much making demos, do you ever guys ever get like inspiration out of other people's demos? Like where you say like, oh, that effect is pretty cool. Let's just take it, warp it around a bit in our own visual style, and just go
Yeah, a
for it.
little bit. Yeah. For instance, like Monamin come up with our admiration from the demo um, Emix by Epoch, I think,
Mm.
and we really liked like the raw techno beats and wanted to do something like really raw and like dark and like kind of aggressive. So that was So that was like direct inspiration from a demo scene. But like mostly, I think it's cool to look at other media, and it's really nice to like have some different references like movies, music, or even like walk in a park. Sometimes it's really inspirational and seeing some weird stuff in the nature or something.
I, I find it that weird, like those really absurd fashion shows. They sometimes are really good
Yeah, that's
inspirational
true. Yeah,
books.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
they do some weird ass stuff sometimes. You're like, oh, that's kind of that works.
Yeah.
Oh, you can watch Arte too. Sometimes.
Which one?
For me, it's like that. If I see something interesting, like if I see someone else do a very interesting intro, that I feel like they could have done myself, I'm kind of more annoyed because I feel like now I can't do that idea.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Like now that it's taken, now if I do it, like everyone else will call me on it. I usually try to keep my interest like as unique as possible. Like always play with new ideas and always get something new out there. Uh, I usually try to like not do something that other people have like already done like 100 times. For example, all of those. There are a lot of people that do like path tracing 4Ks, and that is a subject that I probably wouldn't touch myself just because there are already like first of all so many people that do it, and if I was going to make an intro in that category, I would automatically have to compete with those. And like, have you seen what Nuisance up to? I can't compete with that.
Yeah.
Like, the thing is, if you basically open up your entirely new category every single time you make an intro, you are guaranteed to be the best in that category. And that is pretty much the strategy that I've been going with for as long as I've been making intros, except for maybe my firstie.
Yeah, but at least it gives some differences between demos in the same category, because that's a
I
personal
wasn't. I
opinion.
wasn't.
But
I wasn't saying that like every path tracing demo is the same. I'm
no,
just saying
but
that if I was going to compete, like I probably
yeah,
would be as good as like the standard there.
but I was more saying that in a way that we are okay. Demoscene is about image, but it's also about techniques, and if the same category use only the same techniques for all all its demos, it's kind of nice to see over stuff. I don't say that every pass tracer looks the same, but it's still a pass tracer.
Right.
Technically, it's kind
No,
of
I find it a bit annoying, all the cube and stuff. Like it's always these geometric shapes that come again, again. I really hope people would make more different stuff or different shapes. Like,
Well,
Seriously,
I'd say not only different shapes. Like what I've been seeing a lot is that there are some people that basically have their one render engine set up, and then they make like 10 or 20 intros that are pretty much the same rendering engine, but with like a different SDF. And I personally want to get away from that like as much as possible. And if you look back into my intros, they're basically just interesting ways to render placeholder geometry. So yeah, I'm actively trying to be like on the opposite scale of the spectrum on that. Maybe a little bit too aggressive, but yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, I personally, and this is for many years, I have some problems with that demo scene technical achievement stuff, because I think it really, this rule somehow is so strict, and somehow it is forbidding the people to just do stuff and do stuff that they like and they feel, or anything. So there's nothing wrong with feeling color tubes nicely, right? So this is what just do. This is what I wanted to say with this. But
for me the technical part of the demo scene, in a way that you restrain yourself by putting constraints on your work. At least for me, it helps me being creative. I did some PC demos and I was like, oh gosh, what should I do? I'm in Blender. I can do whatever I want. because like the engine was super great, and so having constraints of a 4K or an executable graphics or things like that, even if I've never done an executable graphics yet, or having a time limit in the shader showdown, it helps me being creative. But I also think that we should aim for creativity in the image and in the final render.
So, so for me, like my favorite compo is the paint over compo. Like that's the one I like because that's the only one in art that gives you some type of limitation. Because unfortunately, like in art, you're presenting one single image, so unfortunately, technique is very important. Um, but and not a whole bunch of there's like a handful of, I guess, demo sceners that fall into the category of like, well, if those join, then it's always between those, like I think it's like 6 or 7 or something. And yeah, if your technique is not close to what they can do, then it's just, yeah, it's hard. But unfortunately, that's the case. When I started, it was the same thing. uh, but that's why I do like the paint over compo, is because that's a time where everyone gets the same amount of time. So and it's all, most of the time it's a lot about idea as well. Like, can you change this, or can you find ideas in this weird mesh of colors you get in front of you? Uh, a lot of people do tend to, I find, still go for the first idea they see, which I always find, like, that's again like the same with the sketching for me. That's always the first thing you do is probably the first thing that everyone sees, and then the compost come by and like 6 people drew a geisha because it was just the easy recognizable shape in there, and they don't really try to search deeper, which I find a shame. But I guess people also go drinking a lot, so it's one of the two. Like my party mainly starts like on Sunday, but I understand that people also just want to party and not spend hours on these things. But that's why I do like the paint over compo, because then it's like everyone kind of has their same rule sets. Like normally I might spend I know 40 to 60 hours on the image, but now it's I just have the 24 plus sleep and food and whatnot, just like everyone else. So let's go for it, and that's what I do like. And then I love to see the results, like what people found, what I didn't find in there. That's always something I find really interesting.
Yeah, I really like the paint over compo also, and I made a production for it for revision this year. Did you see it? It's with the one with Batman.
Yeah, that one was pretty good. I like the paint over. It's so good.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I also think it's you get too much time to spend on art when you do it beforehand, and I also really like doing stuff in a short period of time. And there should be more kinds of this graphics.
Yeah, I think so. So this year I joined the first Soulskogen, even though it was the last Soulskogen, but they have always this live painting competition,
Yeah.
which I really think more demo seniors should do. It's the same premise as the live shadier showdown. And then 2 artists are put against each other, and they get like 50 minutes to draw something. For a team, they get like 2 minutes before it starts, they get a theme on Discord, and that's what you have to draw. And then it's just battle. I think that's great. Like, because that brings out, like, you cannot go for nice techniques. You just need to get something on paper fast, and it needs to look good. Or well, understandable. That's most of the like making it look good is hard enough, but something that can like kind of translates. And that I always find very interesting to see, because then you really get to see what someone does from start to finish, kind of like in their whole thought process. Okay, what am I going to put down first? What type of shape am I going to? How do I tackle the theme? I think we had speed somewhere. And some ideas you see are similar, but there's still different approaches to the same thing. And I think those are always very interesting to see. It's like a live creativity on display, pretty much, which I find very interesting.
So
one
so
sorry
no say
once there was one time during a cookie party when we were doing that kind of between us to train doing different stuff and organizing things in squats. We had two artists using paint, and they dueling themselves, doing a GIF in 25 minutes on paint. So they drew like as many
That's
images
awesome.
as they could, and then at the end of the 25 minutes they created the GIF, and it was super fun to see.
That's cool.
How much can you actually do in that time? Like, is
I-
it just like weird lines like all over the place?
For example, the one competing is the artist who did my profile picture I'm using everywhere, and
Right.
he did a lot of everydays with paint, so he's really used to that tool. And I don't exactly remember the length of the GIF, but he usually do some green chicken. He called it poulet vert, so in French, and that's the name of the artist, poulet vert, if you want to see it. And yeah, but I don't remember the length of the GIF. Sorry, but yeah, it was blobby, of course.
Right.
Yeah, also the speed painting like dual thing. It will also be interesting if that was a paint over challenge. So instead of getting a theme,
Ooh.
like you both get the one paint over thing. For
It's a
That will
challenge
be
over a
pretty
challenge.
interesting. And then turn it into a GIF.
and then turn it into a GIF.
No, too many challenges.
So in general, some constraints are good, some not, right? So
Oh yeah, like I think yeah, like the constraints are really good for the creative process. Basically, I remember I don't know when I read it, where I read it, but there was a comparison about water. Is when you put constraints, you kind of force the water to flow in one way, which is more powerful than just like the water going in every direction, right? So I think like doing, but if it comes to demo scene, I'm kind of scared because it's not going to be a popular opinion probably, because I think if it comes to technical boundaries, as in or artificial ones, as in for the intros, I think they serve a lot if it comes to a creative process, right? Because you need to like be creative to show stuff you want to show. But I don't think, for me, the creative or like the style, or the image is more important than the technical stuff or like technical achievements, right? It's a nice, for me it's a nice addition to have it, like, okay, this looks really nice, and like it's, you know um does something different than other productions do. But if it's still not approaching this technical boundary, I don't care, actually. If it looks good, it looks good. I don't care if
Yeah.
it's super duper rendering something,
Mm.
or and other way around. If it looks like a generic demo, but it does something really cool with the technical part, you know, I care less than another way around. So
I,
Right.
I like to see the technical part of what I'm doing being what drove certain projects, but I always have image in mind. It's
yeah,
really a combination of both, because sometimes I see something technical, like for example path tracing. It's technical. It's okay,
yeah,
but imagine doing a path tracer with over sampling techniques,
yeah,
over
yeah,
way of launching your rays, of sampling them. It can create nice images. I think you can play with the techniques, but I join you in the fact that the image, at least for me, is more important, and it's always
yeah.
something I have in mind, even when I'm doing something technical, even when I learn something new technically.
I
Yeah.
guess I guess what I'm trying to say is the technical part should support the creative part always,
Mm.
and not other way around, I guess.
Yeah.
For me, at least, right?
Yeah, I feel that limitation also pushes my style. The limitation that I go for when making demos is that I make everything in shaders and don't use external assets. So I kind of like to do everything procedurally, like animation and making models and stuff, just with code. But then I have the music part, which is just a 3 megabyte MP3 that's like separate from the actual 5K executable or something that I made. But I feel that that kind of limitation pushes my style into for the better, because then I don't have so much external forces driving me into like a certain way.
For me, those limitations help me a lot. Like for me, those limitations completely turn the problem around, because I personally don't see myself as like a very creative person. If if you give me a blank piece of paper and a pen and tell me to draw something, I'm stunned. I need like something specific, something like some problem that I can solve. And if I add limitations to myself, it becomes less of a purely creative process and more of a problem-solving process. And I personally feel that I'm better at those.
I would argue with you that it's the same, basically. Like, creative process is basically solving a problem, but you need to state the problem.
Yeah, it is exactly that. You need to state the problem in some
Yeah.
way, and limitations are usually the things that do that for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's the reason that I usually go for 4Ks, because I have like that size limitations and like the things that I can that I have like an upper limit to how many things I can do in a executable in the first place. But beyond that, I usually try to find like some technique that works for a more specific case, and then I try to find something that I can show that exploits this technique. If that makes sense.
Cool. Yeah, it does. I wanted to touch a little bit about those no limitations on PC demo scene, since I'm like mostly doing PC, like all the stuff I did was were PC demos, and it's kind of a joke, but for me on PC demo scene, you are the limitation, kind of. You don't need like hardware or like software limitation. Like, basically, what can you do is a limitation, or what can you do with a shitty renderer you wrote. So, and I guess so that's that kind of is as well. It's not that good to not have a limitation, or
So
there's no limitations on PC demo.
Can I push this more personal, because I just feel like how can you deal? I always struggle with that. How can you deal with your own limitations? How can you set your own limitations, right? Because this is what you are in the flow, you are doing, and then you realize, okay, it's not working like you want to. How and then there are different ways from that. I think we all seen them all. No one?
Yeah, for me, I usually just start on something different and then come back to the problem. If that's the case, or I just drop it. Like, if it's too problematic, I like drop the whole scene and just go with something else completely. And that works for me, at least.
Well, to go over my own limitation, I dive into depression firstly.
High five! Yeah.
Yay! So I dive into depression. Then I say to myself, then I drink with friends, and I try to earn their pity. They are super nice to me, and then I gain confidence again, and I tackle the problem. Or I let go.
Very good.
Sometimes I
That's
let
really
go.
good.
For me, so I work in games and do concept art, so I always tend to like if I feel that something's lacking in my images, I just tend to like let my colleagues have a glance at it, and then they often come with a very strong list of shit I did wrong and should fix, and that's then what I'll try to do. But creatively wise, that's with art. It's kind of yeah, I don't know. It's very hard to see what type of limitation would that be. Like for me, is in the end, it's also kind of like what do you want to do with your final product? And for me, it's always like I just want to make something that's cool, and hopefully other people find it cool. So if I find my image cool in the end, it's kind of like, well, the other part is not really up to me, right? Unless it fails, of course, then that's my limitation, I guess. But yeah, so for art, it's kind of weird. With art, it is often your technique. Like if you don't have like you really want to put down, I don't know, something very like some like that. There's a lot of emotions in the depth and the lighting, and you just cannot get that to work when you're trying to aim for like a very realistic image, and that's then your limitation, I guess. But that's something that's for me, like I tend to show it to some colleagues, and then they just chew me out, and I'm doing it wrong, and then I fix it, and that's kind of how it works for me. But yeah, sometimes those things happen, I guess.
Yeah, for me, it's like it's a roller coaster basically. When we get to the stage of doing the scenes, then I switch to a panic mode because we have a deadline. That's first thing. So then my brain goes to like make a demo mode, and I can't do anything else but just like try to do scenes. But then again, when the scenes like look shitty or something, I like get depressed a lot. And then when one goes up, and like I'm go up, and so on and so forth. And I guess the what helps me is kind of like we did a lot of demos with me and Miku, and Miku is more a calm person, and he's like, okay, let's do this, okay, let's do this, and I'm like, running around and trying to do scenes as quickly as possible. Then there's a point of me not seeing anything, as in, at least I have that when I work on a demo. At some point, I just don't know if it's good or not. I'm just like doing it blindly, basically, because it's like I saw it like a million times and like tweaked it a lot, and like it's just like okay, just let it finish. Whatever, if it's shitty, you know, it is what it is, and just yeah. There's the second mode of just finish the thing and never do demos again. But somehow,
and then 3 months later, oh, there
yeah,
is
like
this
maybe
demo
let's, yeah, exactly. And like 3 months later, and like, well, maybe let's do another one. Like, okay, yeah. So it's really messy.
I'm super glad you
just
keep
like
going because you do an awesome job.
I think it's like because I have other people around me, like Miko and other guys from Altair. That's the reason we actually did some demos, because if it was like a solo project, I would just dump every single demo, like never release anything.
Thanks to them.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it's important to let go and
Yes,
just accept like this is what I made, and that's just how it is. And that's why I like to make my demos like in 2 weeks, like in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So it's just really like, and then you push it out. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah. We have the same window. Like we started doing demos for like a month, basically, for like PC demos. So we don't start, like, maybe we find some inspiration, so on and so forth, but we start doing demo for just like a month window, and then just basically for the same reason, to just shove it out and like don't look at it again ever.
So can you when you look back at some work, so can you just accomplish? So this is what I did then. That's it. or are you thinking, oh, there is this thing where you should have done, oh no, and why did you
Yeah,
then? And
yeah. I think the second one. Like it depends on my mood, but mostly the second one. I look at it and I'm like, what, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
really like to look back at things I made before and don't have any hard feelings really. And it's also fun to read poet comments.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yes. Yes.
Fun.
Yes.
I
I
usually only look at like things that I've made in the past to like go through what things I shouldn't do anymore.
Yeah.
That's especially like the comments I get on Poet under my prods. I take them like fairly seriously. So like, for example, for my firstie, like I wasn't like 100% sure I liked how the rendering looked. Like it was a little bit messy and wasn't very temporally stable. And I thought maybe if I just put like a lot of depth of field onto that, that would like blur it out and people won't see the like ugly details. And then like all of the comments were like, "Oh hey, that's really good for firstie. Why is there so much depth of field?" And like if you go back, you can see like for the next like 3 intros, I didn't do any depth of field because of that. Like there was a tiny bit in Think Outside the Box, but that was it. Like generally, if I see comments like that, I actually try to like take them seriously and like improve on myself. I do get a couple of comments which are just like, I didn't like this intro a lot, and I was thanks, I can't do anything about that. But if it's like something concrete that I can improve about myself, then I usually try to do that.
I remember being in this mode of like finishing a demo and really being really exhausted, and like I like pushed myself and whatever, like, and then opening Poet and reading a comment, heartless. Like, top. Like, okay, like, fine.
I mainly just see like past mistakes in like things I definitely like they're very obvious and that I didn't see them and don't understand why. Like actually, to be honest, when we were doing the clips for this talk, and especially with the drawings I like, there's this one drawing that I did like the zoom in effect on, and I just found out that like 2 layers where one should be definitely more forward is like in the horizon way like just in the wrong position, like totally wrong, just totally wrong, and just haven't seen it up till now, and just like, oh Jesus Christ, why? Why did I do this, Megan? Why didn't I see this?
I haven't seen it. I looked at that a lot of times.
So that's what mainly happens with me. It just gets me like a little bit frustrated that happens. Like unfortunately for art, there's not really Poet. I don't think Poet has like for at least for like 2D graphics, like separate things. I think it's all just demos. But on the party itself, I think that the best comment at least I had was some guy. I don't remember the name, but he was a musician, and he just said like, "Man, your art like inspired me to do something." So not so much that he liked it, but that he was at least inspired from my piece of work to do something within his music. That's what I like to do. Like if you can get to that stage where you can inspire other people to get active and do something, I think that's
powerful.
Yeah.
That's the best. That's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
And it's really like when someone came and say to you that you're an inspiration for him or her or his son, her daughter, whatever. It's like I will never get rid of that feeling, and that's why I like to share what I do and what I know, because well, then you will have 2 good points with that, in my opinion, with sharing, is that you you will maybe inspire people, and also if you share your knowledge, you will have more people coming into the scene or the medium you're using, meaning that maybe they will give you ideas, like new ideas. Because I remember when I started shader coding, I played with it even more than what I'm doing right now, because right now I'm a bit more in control. So I'm playing less. And sometimes I see newcomers on Shadow talking things really interesting visually, because they just play with the medium, which is something sometimes I lost, sometimes I gain again, but sometimes I lost. So well, yeah, the more we are, the merrier, in my opinion.
Yep, agreed.
One
I
of
think so
my
too.
one of my most favorite comments from poets is something along the lines of: first I thought it was garbage, then I thought it was genius, then in the end I thought it was garbage again. It was more than any other prod in the compo made me feel. And I really like this comment because it kind of feels like I left an impact on that person,
Yeah, that's true.
and that's what matters for me, at least.
Yeah, I think so too. That commenting, well, worst comments, we don't have to talk about this. Because I find it hard. There are so much stuff, and I talked about this, I think, yesterday and or the day before, and it was like, okay, one of the worst comments are the, well, I think the critics that you tell yourself. And when someone is exactly saying that, you are like, oh no, oh
That
no,
hurts the most. Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
Most
Yeah,
someone
yeah,
noticed.
yeah. Right in the
all
heart.
true.
Yeah,
all I said to myself, it's true.
yeah.
But on the other hand, it is what it is. I think what I try to be as wholesome as I can also with myself and just say, okay, this is what you are right now. This is what you do right now. This is what you can accomplish. Just do it. Just be cool
Yeah.
with it. That's it.
Yeah,
You
I
do.
think like yeah, for me as well. Like I had a lot of like anxiety with like, oh no, this is shitty. I shouldn't like put it anywhere or whatever. I'm stupid. Blah blah blah. So like I think every person that tries to do something has the same like problems, but at some points with the like inner critic, I was just like, all right, it is what it is. I like I did my best. This is what I can produce. Like I can't do anything else. Like, if it's shitty, whatever. Like you know.
Yeah.
So I stopped like maybe not stopped, but now I can kind of filter those feelings or like those inner critic stuff by just
But
like
I but
you know
Mm. But I think that's just like with at least within any art, there's always someone. Actually, to pretty much with anything, there's always someone better. Like this
yeah
whole
yeah
idea of like it's great when you can like when you find yourself like a goal or a person that you really look up to and you say like, well, I'm gonna I'm gonna go there, and I'm not there yet, but I'm gonna go there. I think like that is the best attitude because in the end, there's always someone better, and
yeah
you always will be learning. Like as long as you stay in art, you should keep on learning because that's the only way to, in my opinion, like either develop your creative sense and your general skill set in what you do. Because at the point where you say like, "Oh, I'm pretty much there's nothing for me to learn," I think then you're pretty much done as an artist because there's always something to learn.
Yeah, that just
It's
means you're out of ideas.
yeah
exactly.
And I also think that looking back at your own work and thinking that you could have improved it or you think it's you could have done better is actually a positive thing because it means you've grown as a person.
yes
It means that right now you're better than the past self that made that intro or that made that demo, and you can make something better now than past self could have done.
exactly yeah
Yeah, but
So
you wouldn't.
even though it kind of hurts to look at something that has your name attached to it and that isn't like that great, it also means that you've grown and that you're better now than you have been.
I have a secret about handling inner critics, but it's also a curse. So uh, do whatever you want with that info. But for
now I'm
me,
scared, but let's move on.
but for me, in order to help me with inner critics and shipping stuff, I'm not like that could be better, but I still want to ship it. It's doing a thesis about my artwork. then like I'm a PhD student in digital art, so everything I do with shadow coding, I will have to talk about it in my thesis, and it gives me this feeling of everything I do with shadow coding is about research. And when it's about research, it means that you are allowed, you can allow yourself to have hiccups. You can allow yourself to do something wrong, or it's also, at least for me, easier to get rid of the critic and just say, okay, I just posted because it was something I wanted to keep for my research. So I put it on Shadow Toy, for example, and then it's there and people can critique it. Okay, it's the open source thing. They can take the code, whatever. It's also part of the research. And but it's also a lot of work because at some point I will have to write it. But
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean, because like sometimes when I'm in the mood, I'm trying to like have this punk attitude of just like, okay, let's do something shitty, and like don't care. I'm not gonna do the best scene ever, or you know the best demo ever made. Just do a shitty one, and then we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah, and
And
it,
that kind of helps because
yeah,
yeah.
and it's something along the path.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's always interesting to look back at the path you made, as Slurpee said.
Yeah, it kind of sounds a lot like sketching and art. Like the sketching is meant to be, in that sense, throwaway work. It's work for yourself. It's not work actually to be shown to other people. What often happens is that sketches turn out to be quite interesting. So you end up just throwing a lot of them on a page, and all of a sudden you still have something that actually looks interesting to look at. But it's mainly meant, it's work for yourself. It's meant, so it should be fast. It should be throwaway work, and it's just about exploring. And in the end, often you still ended up putting it online because everything together kind of looks cool and it shows your progress. And that's something that a lot of people find interesting as well. Uh, like I used to buy a lot of art books from different movies, but slowly I've been going more towards the artists that have like more like sketch compilations where they just have their like sketch work. And yes, sure, they're artists that are very good at their work, so their sketches look awesome. But I find it a lot more interesting to look at those type of things than to look at their final work, because their final work just looks cool. So at some point you just, this looks cool, and then you go to the next video, this looks cool too. But then with the sketches, you can really see like, oh damn, this is an interesting concept. It's not final yet, so you still have to fill in some blanks yourself and how it might work or walk or whatever. But that's actually like part of the fun as well, to not fill in everything, like all the information for everyone, but keep people like a little bit, how would that work? How does this work? Oh, that's kind of cool. So it kind of sounds like what you guys are saying, that you should just that this type of work is I lost my train of
Temporarily,
thought.
let's say.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Like
it's
temporal or something. Like it's
exactly.
not, you know, it's not your biggest piece ever.
Yeah,
It's just,
exactly.
you know,
It's meant to just to give you an
have
insight of
fun.
like, okay, this is yeah, have fun, and this is what it could be, I guess.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be, and I think that's
Exactly.
very important.
Yeah.
Because it's also easy to iterate on something that is definitely not like overthought or put a lot of work in. To something that's on an early stage, and you can say, oh no, okay, we go now right, and then no, this doesn't work, we go left, and sometimes say, okay, we go back again and look better than what we have now. It's you never know.
Oh yeah, and like for me as well, like it's easier to fix something or like tweak something than come up with something. So for instance, it's easier to me to do like 10 shitty scenes and then try to tweak them and like change them to get something nice, rather than just like coming up and thinking about this one scene that will be like magnificent and and the best from the get-go. Like iterations are really good at coming up
Yeah.
with stuff, basically, and
And
starting
also,
with something like
also
Yeah, and it's
when you think about sketches, they have more soul also, because
uh-huh.
they're kind of made in the moment, and
Mm.
when you render them out like to perfection, they kind of loses some of that aura. Or I think,
Well, I think that the thing about the sketches is that not all the information is there, right? And it's and that's exactly it. It's like the human brain likes to fill in blanks.
Yeah.
So when, for example, when you're drawing a wall, you can either draw like a line so that you see like a full grid of every brick, or you do like a little selective, like, okay, there's a few bricks here, a few bricks there, and a few bricks there. But the person's mind will still fill that in as being a fully brick wall. And probably in everyone's mind subconsciously, it will look a little different. And I think like doing those type of details is just interesting way of approach. And that's why I also think sketches are a lot more interesting, because you have to fill in the last bit or remaining information yourself. And if you are a creative person, that goes easier, I guess, because you do have like a similar mindset to fix these problems in your head fast, right? And that's also what for me often sparks like more creative ideas, because then you see something like another artist made like an early design of something, and you think, oh, if we would do this, then that would be super cool, and then you just trail off his original idea to something of yourself. Uh, and yeah, I think that's very good. But there's also like often when people get a lot better in drawing, they slowly find like more ways to keep the soul in there, like what was in their sketch, translate that back into the final piece. But that's something that always takes a long time for someone to learn, I think, to really get that like core philosophy you had in the beginning and translate that back to your final piece, like what it was really about. I think that's very important in art, to be able to like nail that down and find out what that was.
Very
Yeah.
nice. Wow, so much. So should we come to some questions from the other people from the question and answer channel in the Discord? Sorry for the guys who are in the Twitch chat. It's just so many chats to deal with, and so we decided to do the question and answer and put on this. And I will throw in the first question, which had a lot of resonance, and it was, how do you manage to make a distinction between work and fun in case you employ the same techniques, tools for both? In other words, how do you ensure fun doesn't begin to feel like work?
Okay, so I guess I'll start. It's not going to be fun all the time. That's the thing. Sometimes you need to do the work, basically. And for me,
Sometimes you have to do the work while
yeah,
crying.
there's no walking around. It's not like I'm gonna do a demo, so for 1 month I'm gonna have 100% fun, and it will be always like super cool to work on the demo. No, it's like it's a percentage. Sometimes it's 50-50, sometimes it's 30-70 or something like. But at some point you need to push yourself, and you need to have some form of discipline to finish something up. It won't be fun, and it won't be fun, especially for me at least, at that point when I don't know what I'm doing. Actually, I don't see if it's good or not. I just need to push it out, and I need to like basically have a work schedule and just finish it. So yeah, that's it for me.
For me, it's pretty much it's like often the context. So either like for work, it could be that you're working on something at work with a subject that you really have no interest on. That's a possibility. Or you have clients that have no sense of well, I guess, and I can speak of this as well, that have like no sense of design, and you make like 3 or 4 like proposals, and they of course choose the worst one that you just made to like scare them off. But you will have to like fully design it. And I think at least with art is like if you can choose your own like design or when you're designing in your own universe, that it's always more fun because you can be more laxer with the rules. You can do what you want. You don't have to necessarily get feedback if you want to, right? If you want to say just do everything yourself. And I think that alone, that you're just designing something of your own, that alone is one of the big parts that makes it fun. Because in the very end, even if the work is hard and the work is going to be long, at the very end, it's a project that's made by you and it's for you. That you then decide to share most of the time in the demo scene, but it's something you made. While work is always something you make for someone else. So in the end, it's not really your work. It's it's always kickstarted by something else, and I think that's something that makes a big difference as well.
Yeah, I think it's important to create for the right reasons. Like I make demos because I want to make demos, not because I want to impress someone or whatever. I just want to create.
Yeah.
And if you do it for a different reason, like you really want to impress someone, it won't be that fun, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And to jump here a little, I think people notice as well. Like I think it's visible that you're not doing it for pure reason of creation and just to like please people. I think, and your work suffers from it. I think, yeah.
I once, I think it was like, I'm not sure which, because back in the days I only went to Eurovision, and there's one year where I was like, fuck this shit, I ain't winning shit. I'm just gonna make something so cliche that hits all the notes of the guys that are always winning. It's gonna be my best image, and it totally bombed. It's horrible. If you go through my history, you'll probably immediately see which one it is. But that one, it just has nothing. There's no soul. It's just a bad drawing. That's just all it is, you know. And that's just what it is. And then at that point, I was also like, no, I'm just gonna make some, because it was also not fun to work on that image because it was not like really making something that I wanted to make and thought was cool.
Yeah.
And since then, I've just always been doing whatever I want to do. Because I think that's the most important thing, really. Have fun, you know.
I think that's an important point I try right now to accomplish for myself, to make a difference between what you do for, earning money, just basically this, especially when you also work in the creative field. So there's this distinction where you have to earn money and you have your creativity. And I also learned that there are people that say, no, I don't want my creativity be responsible for my food on the table, and I do strict order between that. I never did that. I always knew, okay, I want to work there, and never cared about what I want to do for myself. Well, and this is my prospect somehow, to just be aware that there is this work I do for earning money and this work I do for myself, and that's the difference. And there is this you can handle this differently.
Yeah, for me, it's the I work, I have a job, which is like not totally related because I'm a technical artist in a video game studio, so I have to make shaders, but it's with Unreal and a shader drive, so it's totally different. but at least it gives me like um, monthly incomes, so my creativity is totally free, and I can even if people want to commission me, I can accept or refuse as much as I want, because I have the chance of being
Independent,
healthy,
basically.
independent and healthy money wise.
Mhm.
So I think it's important. Well, it gives you twice the amount of work because if you want to stay relevant like for myself, it's in shader coding, so it's something like technical stuff evolved pretty quickly. So to stay relevant, you have to do a little bit of technological veil and stuff like that. So it's twice the work, but at least you're free on your artistic part. And I found it really. I'm not sure I will be able to just work, like just live from my art. I'm not sure I will be super comfortable with it personally.
So I'm sorry for every question I may have not seen. I just read them and I thought, okay, we strived every topic there, so I will not come back to that. I hope I will not get anyone. So I just ask in the round, what are your prospects you want to achieve for yourself, for your creativity, for your flow, for your what's it? What's your outlook on the future?
I just want to keep creating. And have fun.
Good answer.
Really. I don't have huge plans, but yeah.
I feel like it's very hard to give like a concrete answer to that question. Like I don't really have like one project that I've been putting off or like that I'm working towards. I just kind of make what I want when I feel like it.
I think I want to finish my PhD, then I will be able to add DR in front of my nickname in the demo scene because I will be a
Nice.
doctor.
Dr. Flopine.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
would be amazing.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
And then just get your hand around DJing as well, and it's
Yeah.
Dr. DJ.
Dr.
Dr. F, you know. And I think I want like with the working from home situation and the lockdown situation, I had the chance to do a lot more of VJing, especially in chiptune concerts, and I would love to keep going with that idea and using shadow coding in VJing as often as I can.
Yeah, for me as well. Like I don't know. I like actually this year after doing the Matarisk demo, I'm doing like a little holiday from demo scene, and I'm not working on anything demo scene related this year, and we'll see like what's gonna happen next year. For now, I'm on a vacation, let's say.
Holidays are cool too.
Yeah.
And necessary.
Yeah.
For me, it's just get better at my craft. Because, like I said, there's always something to learn. Would love to really get to like super realistic painting style if I'm able to. So that's something I always strive towards. Other than that, I do have like a few projects that I've been like putting off for the longest time because the demo scene gets annoying. So I would love to finish that. And I'm always looking into like new stuff. Like a week ago, we bought like one of these VR where your telephone fits in. And I found out in Blender it's really easy to render VR videos. So I might just look into like Blender VR. You know, you never know. You never know. It's like I just like to do these type of things.
Very good. So anything you want to shout out to the people out there? Anything left?
Keep being creative and watch the cookie stream on the social stream later on because it will be super creative. Sorry for the advertisement, but
No,
you should watch it.
Yes, totally fine.
Probably will find with something like keep hydrated, but that's fine too.
Stay healthy, keep hydrated. Yes. Well,
Make a demo out of it.
always. Whatever.
Maybe.
Just make a demo. It's fine.
Yeah,
or
make demos. You know.
Or join the graphic artists. We need more graphic artists. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you guys so much. I enjoyed this talk very much. I hope everyone else enjoyed it as much as we did, because I think all of us did, enjoying talk to each other about stuff that is our everyday life or someday life or something. Well, it's an up and down, and sometimes it's a struggle, sometimes it's fun, but that's it. That's what to accept, right? So I hope we will have soonish a demo party again, a real one where we meet each other. I miss everything, and it's quite strange to have this Evoke weekend without Evoke, right?
It's for the greater good. But next year we will.
Hopefully talk in person, right?
Exactly. When the vaccine comes, we should just do a demo party to collaborate then, and just everyone vaccines each other at the entrance.
Oh, vaccine party. That sounds. I don't
Vaccine
know if
party.
you can like vaccine while you're like intoxicated with alcohol, but we can try, I guess.
Well, people have to like just until they get vaccines, then they can do that.
Oh, right.
So see you soon, hopefully, and then I go back to Stimo and Dino. See you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.